Hello and welcome to Tucson, Arizona. I'm Randy.
I'm Tanya.
I'm joined today by the crazy tiger lady. So,
I'm the scattered-brained wife, if you've listened to previous videos,
she's the
who
one
will get away with it, by the way.
she thinks she can get away with taking me out.
Because I watch the Learning Channel.
Yeah, she thinks she can get away with taking me out. And I can't believe you actually said that you could drag me out to the chickens to take care of me. Yeah, I'd love to see you try to drag me anywhere. Okay, so I've been trying to get you on here for a while. You're always busy or uninterested. You came home today with a fun story, and you wanted to share it.
I did.
Share away.
I did. So obviously we're Trump fans here. I was not into politics at all until 2020, and I hated Trump. And then
Why? Please expand upon that. Why did you hate Trump? It's important.
Oh, because I thought he was racist. I thought he didn't care about people. I thought he was just out to make money, and
What did you believe he thought about women?
That he just thought we were pieces of meat. That we weren't anything more than a piece of meat.
Fair. No. I just wanted you to expand upon, because this is one of my favorite stories to tell to people.
Yeah, and then
is your story.
Yeah, so I just didn't like him, but also I was hanging around with like-minded people, and that was my only circle of...
This is your only frame of reference.
My only frame of reference was hearing what other people said, and then little clips, because at that time I was still on Facebook, little clips on Facebook about how terrible he was, and just was like, oh, gosh, it's on the internet. It must be real.
Would you say that you were in a echo chamber? I
was totally in an echo chamber. I was in my own little bubble, and... yeah, I didn't know any better. And then 2020 hit. And
Hold on, before we skip too far ahead.
Okay.
When we got together, I was a very big Trump guy. I wasn't really a Trump guy until he was actually in office. I voted for him, but I didn't have an opinion about him. So I voted for him. I loved him. And as time went on, I became very outspoken pro-Trump. You very much hated Trump. But you're hot, so I got over it, and I continued our relationship.
Thank you.
But we were never allowed to talk politics.
Right, we were not.
You were very adamant.
Yep.
So you would say...
And thank you for respecting that at that time. Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here married.
So this is important for the people. You and I both know the story, but I think it's important for anyone watching this. So you would, and none of this is to be disparaging, I'm just saying facts. You would see something on TV, if we're watching TV or whatever, and you would make a little hate Trump, and you'd say some little quip about him, and then I'd go to say something, and you'd look at me and go, we don't talk politics. So she would shut me down. She'd share her opinion, and then she'd shut me down, which I think is indicative of the left today. So
I want to also disclaimer, I was not registered to vote. I did not register to vote until the 2020 election.
So please now do get into 2020 and what changed your mind on Trump?
So COVID hit, and every day my lovely, not husband yet, but my fiance at the time, was Trump. Would put him on our TV every day talking about
the 2 weeks to slow the spread.
Right. And
what's in our kitchen? My surround sound is wired into our kitchen as well. I put speakers in there.
I was hiding in the kitchen, just ignoring it. And then, I'd walk in when he'd say something, and I'd, next day walk in. And then one day I walked in and sat down, and I was just mesmerized by what he was saying and the actual facts he was presenting. And I was like, all right. And then over the course of 2020.
Hold on, I'm going to give you more credit than that. So, because again, this is my favorite story to tell people. How you went from being an active Trump hater to where you are today. She would come in, and she'd walk by, and she'd just, all these little nasty little, whatever, eye rolling, looking at her own brain. And on day like 4, because he'd go on live as I was getting home from work. All through 2020. So I'd put it on the big screen and the surround sound, and I'd turn it up. So she can't avoid it. She couldn't go anywhere in the house without hearing this. So on day like 3 or 4, you started coming in and kind of lingering,
Mm-hmm.
we'll say, and you weren't really saying all the nasty little snide nonsense anymore. You kind of stopped, and then one day you sat down, and I was like, all right, like you were about to feed some animals, and now you're just chilling. And so I was watching you and listening to him, but then you started going, well, he just answered that question. You started pointing out, you were like, well, he just answered that. Why are they asking him that again? And you were starting to get frustrated with the fact that Trump would very obviously answer a question, and then they'd hit him with a reworded version of the same question.
Mm-hmm.
You started getting really aggravated, and then you started to see it. And this goes to the facts. If you listen to the source and stop going to CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, I don't care who it is, stop paying attention to them. Go out and do your own research. Listen to the man speak. Just go directly to the source, hear an entire speech he has to say, and then make a formulated opinion based on what you heard him say, not the 10-second out of context clip someone else said. Because up until that point, that's all you'd ever been fed.
That's correct.
And then once you couldn't avoid it. It was in your face. I wasn't letting it go. We weren't talking politics, but I was listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I skirted around our little rule, or your little rule, and like you were confronted with the reality of the situation. And to your immense credit, you've been listening to him ever since, and really willing to listen to the truth of what's being said about someone. So sorry, continue. This is very important. If we're talking about it, let's talk about it.
And on the same point, while I listen to him, I'm also watching Kamala do her speeches and stuff, so that when I'm presented with the question, like today, which is the story we're going to get to, why are you voting for Trump? Kamala, is doing this, this, and this. I can have an educated conversation with someone and
have all the information presented
facts
by both sides.
Right. So today I'm walking into one of my accounts. I'm not going to say which one it was. And there's a gentleman in the parking lot who, ma'am, are you a registered voter? Yeah. Take a picture of this. And he's holding this green sign that has one of the QR codes.
QR code, yeah.
And I was like, no, why? And he's like, just take a picture of this. And I was like, no, tell me why. And I'm reading it, and it says, about voting early and where to vote. And I said, okay. I said, you might want to do this a little differently, because I said, I'm doing this too for Trump Force 47. I'm knocking on doors. I'm getting people to vote early. I said, I've also, been a part of Turning Point, and I've been to some of their events. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, they're both with the Republican Party.
Charlie Kirk, baby.
Okay. And I'm like, who are you with? And he's like, I'm with this place. And it was like a green something. And I said, okay, so you're a nonpartisan person, just getting people getting their vote out. And he's like, yeah, but you're the first person today that's told me that they're voting for Trump. And I said, well, how long have you been out here? And he's like, about an hour. Okay, in an hour. All right. And he's like, tell me why. So I'm like,
you're also in the heart of town, and typically in the hearts of cities is where the Democrats live.
Right. And he's like, well, tell me why you're voting for Trump. And I'm like, oh, awesome. I'd love to. Like, this is going to be a great discussion. I'm like, he's going to implement he's going to build our economy. He's like, how is he going to do that? And I said, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. I said, those three things are putting more money in our pockets so we can put that into the economy. I went on to say, my husband works a ton of overtime, and we hardly see any of that money. And I said, the one thing that we can't do and we haven't been able to do for years, which is something we used to do once a month, was go on a date, go out to dinner.
We did it once a week until 2020.
Yeah. And I said, we miss that. We can't afford to spend $50 on the two of us to eat.
Minimum.
When, I am a little bit of a Fruit Loop with my sales, but I like to sit at dinner and go, this meal cost us $15 feeding 5 people.
She takes great pride in saving us money.
I do.
Is what she's trying to say.
I do. Or not spending excess money. So I tell him those things, and I'm like, it's going to be great for the economy. And he's like, well, Kamala is going to build the economy. I said, please tell me how. And he's like, well, she's going to give $25,000 to new homeowners. And I said, well, where is that money coming from? And he's like, well, and I said, my guess is it's coming from us taxpayers. She hasn't said. I said, please tell me one thing she's running on. Just give me one thing she's running on.
One policy.
One policy that she's running on. And he's like, well, and I said, you can't, right? Because she just filibusts every time she talks. It's just word salad vomit.
For 7
minutes
at a time.
She just goes on and on. When she's asked a question specifically about something, she goes on and on. And he's like, well, you're voting for a convicted felon. And I was like, please, show me facts. Show me where he's a convicted felon. And he's like, well, the court of law said he was a felon. And he gets his phone. And I said, no, if you're going to have this discussion with me, you can't use your phone.
Time out. What did you do for over 20 years of your career?
I worked in the legal field.
Please continue. No, continue telling me about how a strange man in a parking lot with no teeth told you how the law works.
Right.
Please continue.
He was like, well, he was convicted. And I said, where? In what court? In the court of law. In what state? He didn't even know that. And so I was getting in my husband when I came home and told him the story. He was like, well, why'd you keep arguing with him? And because he had no facts. And I had facts because I wanted to have an educated discussion. Yes, I admit it. I got a little heated. But it was because he kept trying to do this.
Yeah, I kept
every
trying
time
to
he was
touch you.
and I was like, you need to stop touching me. That is considered assault, and you need to stop touching me. Oh, I'm just being friendly. I don't know you. You don't get to touch me. Sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be woke here, but I don't know you. And
yeah, in the Me Too era, it's very dangerous to just start touching a strange woman.
At this point, I was just
in a parking lot.
I was like, I'm in a public parking lot. Like, dude, calm down. And I kept saying to him, so I'm going to jobble some of this up because I'm still a little amped. But I kept saying to him, but you're a nonpartisan person, right? So why are you telling me Kamala's better than you? Well, you weren't
trying to
me.
sway
You
voters.
were trying to sway my vote, and you don't even have any good facts.
Oh, well, no information at all.
So then, so mind you, this is a black gentleman. And he's like, well, he's racist. And I said, please tell me how he's racist. And he's like, every time he has no answer for me. And I said, well, did you know that, and I'm not going to use the fancy words my husband uses, but like the black colleges go to the president. And he's like, no, they get that from the federal, the funding comes from the federal government. And I said, yes, it comes from the federal government. But they have to go to the president to ask for that federal funding.
For their annual funding.
And I said, and they went to Obama every year for 8 years. And it got granted.
And he made him come back every year.
And then a black president. And then they go to Trump the first year, and he's like, yeah,
the most racist president we've ever had.
President. He comes back the next year, and Trump's like, why are you here? And he's like, I have to come back every year. He's like, no, you don't. Like, what did he give him, 5 years? A 5-year?
I don't remember off the top of my head, and I don't want to get that information wrong.
I don't either.
But he did give them several years worth of approval.
And I told this gentleman that.
He's like,
I said, don't quote me, but they gave him more than 1 year.
He goes, yeah, you don't need to come back for a while, man. Like, you're great people. I love seeing you, but I don't want to see you under this circumstance anymore. Mm-hmm. He does tell the story in several interviews because he was asked about this. And he goes, yeah, like, you know, they're really great people. I love giving them funding. Of course, here's your funding. And then the next year, I'm like, he didn't understand because, again, he's not a politician. He didn't know how a lot of these ins and outs work.
Yeah.
And I think that he expressed that very well on the Joe Rogan interview Friday. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm new to all this. I didn't know about any of this. I just know I'm tired of our country getting ripped off and our people getting screwed. So he didn't understand how that works until the second year. Mm-hmm. He was like, wait a minute, that's not okay. Like, how did Obama, the guy I just replaced, not take care of you? But I'm like, and he, what's funny is for all the crap people talk about him and say that he's got this huge ego and he just loves to get pet like a pet kitten, you know, like, no, he talks about the things that matter, and he brags. Yeah, he is braggadocious.
He is very braggadocious.
But he should be because he's done amazing things.
Right.
But what you never hear is about the personal things he does for people, the amount of money he's donated to different organizations. Right. Okay, here's something that I really wish he would talk about, and I wish someone would talk about this in the mainstream media. Because that dude said, oh, he's racist. Mm-hmm. You know, all the country clubs that Trump is a part of when he first joined didn't allow Jews or blacks to golf on their clubs?
I did not know that.
Trump is the reason. He is the reason.
Well, thank you.
Jews and blacks are able to golf on all these major golf courses that Trump was like a member of. Wow. Mar-a-Lago, blacks and Jews, swing clubs there every day. and that's because of Trump. If he was such a racist, there wouldn't be and if he was all this other crazy crap, certain people wouldn't be allowed to golf there. Hispanics wouldn't be allowed to golf there. It's Florida. You know where all the Cubans go when they leave Cuba? Florida. Cubans love him. They see through all the bullshit. Benny Johnson just did a video. I watched it yesterday. I think it dropped yesterday. But him and Forgiato Blow, the rapper who's got all the Trump trucks and everything. He raps all his stuff with Trump. He's met Trump. He's got Trump tattoos and stuff. You've seen his videos with me. They had a Rolls Royce in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, handing out hundreds, maybe thousands, but definitely maybe thousands of MAGA hats to black people in downtown Atlanta. Everyone there loves Trump. You know why? That's where he went to go get his mug shot. That's where he went to go walk around. And one of the dudes, so he went to a barber shop, hung out in the barber shop. He went to now I know I'm going to get this wrong. I think it was a chicken restaurant, like a Church's Chicken or something like that. He went to a restaurant and bought a ton of people like milkshakes and stuff from there. Like hundreds of people just bought him milkshakes. But he went cruising around, walking around this town, hanging out with people, getting pictures with them, hugging them, stuff like that, shaking hands. And there's a barber there in that barber shop that they went to hang out in, that Trump went to. Benny Johnson went there, and he's talking to one of the dudes, and he's like, so what's, what do you want with these hats? He's like, hell yeah, man. Trump's my boy. He's like, so what did that mean to you, Trump coming here? He was like, I meant everything, man. I mean, he cares for us. He goes, I don't see Kamala come down here giving me a hug. Trump came over here and gave me a hug. Like, he's showing us love. He's hanging out in the hood. Like, no president has ever come here. Like, Trump, the one everyone's saying is racist, was out here hanging out with us, giving us love, He was buying people milkshakes. Like, he was walking. Like, yeah, Secret Service was around, but he was kind of pimping. Like, he would go out and he's walking around without dudes right on his shoulder. He's just openly walking through the hood. Like, you don't see another president doing that, but he's racist. Like, yeah, okay. Sorry, dude. Like, LBJ was racist as shit, and you wouldn't be caught dead going into an all-black neighborhood. And Trump was hanging out. And where he's at is one of the most dangerous counties in all of the South. And Trump was just out there hanging out. He didn't have a bunch of people right on his body. Like, they were like 15, 20 feet away. There was a distance. Anyone could have popped him. Like, but he's racist.
Yeah, so he said he's racist, and I said, okay, do you think Kamala's racist? And he's like, of course she's not. And I said, well, did you know that she imprisoned more black criminal, or more, not black, I shouldn't say
young black men.
Young black men in California as the district attorney.
Drug charges.
On drug charges. And he's like, well, and I said, did you also know that she kept them longer than their sentence because she wanted free labor? And he's like, well, no, I didn't, But I'm just saying, like, I think that, she's got some good ideas for the country. I said, again, please tell me one.
Name one.
Give me one policy that she's going to run on. And he kept reaching for his phone, and I kept saying, no, tell me. Like, you
believe this so much?
If you believe this so much, if you're a non-partisan person out here getting people to vote early, you need to have facts about, because you're clearly pushing Kamala. You're clearly, on.
Yeah, he's endorsing Kamala wholeheartedly.
Right.
And running his mouth the same way CNN does. He's using talking points.
And he's like, well, he's racist because in the 80s he bought this high rise in New York, and then he evicted everyone. And I said, were any of those people white? And he was like, no, not a single one. They were all Chinese and blacks. And I said, well, I'm sure there was a reason.
I'd love to see the facts stating that.
And I said, but what he did in the 80s as a businessman, it
doesn't
matter right now.
Relate.
It doesn't relate to the conversation you are having right now. That is something I will absolutely look into when I'm done talking with you. But what we're talking about is, what has he done for our country? And he's like, so I'm guessing you're like in your 20s. And I'm like, no. But he's like, so what is the best years of your life? And I said, 2016? Or I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2016.
2016 to 2020. And he's like, well, why do you think that was? and I said, because our economy was flourishing. I said, my dollar meant something.
Yep.
I could take care of my family and still do fun things. And I said,
we were spending all kinds of money in those 4 years.
My dollar doesn't mean anything anymore. And I said, and 2016 was the first year I got to quit my second job.
And just work one.
My entire adult life, I had worked 2 jobs. And in 2016, actually it was 2017, I don't want to misspeak, I was able to quit my second job and just work 1 full-time job. How about that? Like, it was amazing.
In 2018, I got a $10 an hour raise.
Yeah.
Like, our economy was doing so damn well.
And so, then he says, well, I own 24 businesses. And I said, well, good for you. I don't own 24.
I don't own a single tooth.
Later on in the discussion, he's like, well, I sold them, but I still get royalties. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then he's like, well, I met Donald Trump when I lived in New York. I met Donald Trump, and he was racist. And I was like, well, please explain to me how he was racist to you when you met him. Well, I mean, I didn't meet him. My dad had gotten a picture with him, and there was also a Puerto Rican in the picture. And I was like, so how he's racist if he met your dad and a Puerto Rican? And he's like, well, I just don't want to stand here and argue with you. And I'm like, I'm not arguing with you. I'm giving you facts, and I'm asking you questions to have you back what
he
you're
was
saying.
Dropping anecdotes. He doesn't have any facts to back up anything he was saying.
So it was amping
now, if he
me
had
up.
pulled up a picture, well, that's my dad, and that's a Puerto Rican, and he was
with Trump.
Like, okay,
cool. Like,
so he was being
awesome.
racist by taking a picture with 2 people.
I didn't understand, and then when
my
I questioned
my grandfather was racist. He would never have taken a picture with a black dude unless he was a boxer or a football player.
Mm.
Those are the only black people he had any respect for.
I was flabbergasted by his, yeah. Oh, and then, I'm sorry, let me rewind to the very beginning when he said, you're the first person today that it said they're voting for Trump. And I said, well, that's unfortunate if they're voting for Kamala because they are ignorant to the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, you're saying they're stupid? And I said, no, that's not what I said at all.
Ignorant.
I said they're ignorant to the facts. They don't know the facts about what she's planning on doing.
Ignorant does not mean stupid or dumb. It means without information, without knowledge. That's all that means.
And he's like, well, Trump's just going to go after us middle-class working people. I said, no, he's not. He's
going to go after us to make us money. Dollar bills,
and he's like,
baby.
well, he thinks we should reduce taxes on rich people.
Yes.
And I said, yeah, because you know what? Those rich people are going to put more money into the economy.
So here's the thing that
they're going to go out to a restaurant and spend more money and tip the waitress that, if he's president, doesn't have to get taxed on that tip. It's nobody understands.
Here's
or
how I
takes the
answer
time
to that.
Understand that it's a big circle of, instead of here's some. Oh, sorry, I get very animated. Here's some free money that where's it coming from?
So here's how I answer that whenever someone goes, oh, he just wants to lower the taxes for all his rich friends. All I ever do when someone says that ignorant line is go, have you ever gotten a job from a poor man? Have you ever been employed? I mean, you have been employed by a poor man, so you weren't getting paid.
Right.
I was there. So I've never gotten a job from a poor man. And when I was poor, I've never offered to pay someone for their services.
Yeah.
Rich people are able to employ workers or people who are being successful to some degree, even if as long as money's coming in, they're able to pay someone their wage for their work. Giving me a tax break helps me. Getting rid of my taxes altogether helps me more. But giving tax breaks to my employer does better for me because now my company, like when it comes due for me to get a new truck, they're not going to be so ham-fisted with their cash to buy me a new service truck. When I need new tools, I'm like, hey, there's a $600 tool that I need and I have to have it to do this job. You need to buy it. they're not going to go, they're just going to be like, yeah, dude, go get whatever the hell you need. Go spend thousands of dollars on tools, whatever
because
you
you're going to
need.
do that job with that money. With that money, you're going to buy that tool to do that job really well. And then that person is going to
Brings us more
continue
money
to
in.
hire you to do more jobs and continue to have
And my company is saving on tax dollars to do all of it.
right.
And that's when it comes time for a raise, when I go, hey, I'm an ass kicker, give me more money. If our budget is nice and we've got this beautiful cushion and we're saving on tax dollars,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna be like, well, yeah, dude, like you're right. Yeah, I've been kicking ass. Here's how much money we've been making. Here's an offer.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this stuff works. If you're saving taxes on the big companies, they're willing to open up the purse strings a little more if they know they're saving money.
Mm-hmm.
That's how all businesses work.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who don't understand that don't understand how business works.
Right.
They don't understand the economy, first of all. They think they do. They understand what I will never understand is how someone can go, oh, yeah, no, we're doing great because $4 a gallon in gas. Like we just went to San Diego. I saw $5 a gallon while we were there.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane to me. Every time we get around $3, it freaks me out. I got 2 trucks that if I wanted to drive, I have to budget to drive them.
Yeah.
Like every time that dually starts, I'm like, okay, I'm running to here and home, and that's all I'm doing with this tank of gas. Or the Suburban just kind of sits here because she gets 10 miles to the gallon if I'm easy. And it's supercharged, so I'm
Let's be
never
honest,
easy.
6 miles to the gallon.
We're averaging about 7. Averaging about 7 in that truck. Lifted 4x4 with a 454 and a supercharger. It gets god-awful gas mileage, but it will rip. But I don't drive the truck because it's just too damn expensive to make sense. When we can drive a V6 Jeep, or I can hop on the Harley and go somewhere. Like, fuel is insane, and people are willing to vote for the person who was part of the mob who shut down all of our oil. And then she was running on against fracking when she was running for president before Tulsi Gabbard called her out for the way she treated young black men in the legal system in California and knocked her out of the race. Up until right before they finally stopped lying to hide Biden and protect Biden and his mental deficiencies, she was the worst vice president in history. And then a month later, she's the savior for the left. These people have no sense of history. People don't see, they've got memories of a goldfish today, and it's been programmed into people with like YouTube shorts and all the short video entertainment, which is why I do long form. If you're going to hang out and watch, I want to get you hooked and get you going and have you hang out for a little while. Maybe bring your attention span higher up than 30 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever.
That's also one thing he said today, taking back to fracking. And I was like, I would like to be self-sufficient on our oil again.
Energy independent.
We were flourishing and exporting oil. And he's like, we're still self-sufficient.
Yeah,
How? Where?
$1.89 a gallon.
Yeah.
That's why we bought the Suburban.
Yeah, it's
We bought the Suburban
we
because
bought the
gas
Suburban
was
in
so damn
September of
cheap.
2020 thinking.
Yeah, because gas was so cheap.
Yep.
We did 2,500 miles the first.
And then by January.
Yeah, that went down. So we had to buy something cheaper for fuel, but that's when we bought Junebug. But yeah, and now we pass that savings on to Daniel. But man, she was against fracking until like 5 months ago, and then she's like, "Oh, we're gonna do fracking." What? Fracking isn't the only thing. We have offshore drilling. No one's talking about that. Galveston Island. I talk about it with Daniel a couple of times. Galveston Island is all about offshore drilling. Are there any of those rigs going to be back in operation or only frack? Like,
that's a mosquito.
What's going to? Yeah, they don't bother me. And you're wearing long sleeves. You're all right. I'm just trying to kill it. Like, okay, are you going to be opening up the pipeline in the Dakotas? What's going on with the pipelines in Alaska? Like, are we going to be ever allowed to tap the oil that's under our feet here in southern Arizona? No, because Bill Clinton stopped all that. Like there was a mine that was going to be expanding out here because we're full of mines here in Arizona. Some of the biggest raw material pockets in the country. We have one of the largest. We found one of the largest oil pockets in the nation here in Arizona, and the mine right over here wasn't allowed to expand because it would have been expanding into that section, and they would have been allowed to drill the oil and start pumping oil out of Arizona, and the government stepped in and said no and commandeered all that land. So we have federal land here in Tucson because of that. So it's a shit show. Oil makes the government stupid. Here's the other thing they remember, and I know you'll remember, the ozone layer. There's a hole in the ozone layer. So we have to get rid of R12. We have to get rid of R22. We have to get rid of all these refrigerants. And you've got to put all these EGR valves in cars. And it's all this massive changes to protect the government. So my dad was the head electrician, the head electrical foreman on the Biosphere 2, which is 40 minutes from us. So when I was a kid, he was building the Biosphere 2. You know what they have at the Biosphere 2? Ozone machines to pump ozone into the biosphere. Yeah, we have had the technology since like the 50s or something like that to create ozone. Ozone is in a lot of the little cartridges that pump things out of cans and stuff. A lot of that's ozone. We don't ever hear about a problem with the ozone layer anymore. Now it's global warming. When was the last time you heard anyone mention the ozone layer and the hole? The late 90s, maybe the early 2000s. Oh, the hole in the ozone layer. The ozone layer fixes itself. And if we really needed to, we pump ozone into the atmosphere and we fix it. Haven't heard anything about that, but you've got all these electric cars that they're trying to force everyone into. By 2035, all of California has to have electrical cars. Their electrical grid can't handle the electricity they have now. They had to start telling people to stop plugging their Teslas in at night because it was blocking out entire neighborhoods because the grid couldn't handle all of the electricity. Where's all this electricity coming from? You don't want the best, cleanest, most powerful version of energy, and that's nuclear. And I'm so glad that Joe Rogan brought that up to Trump Friday, talking about nuclear. He's one of those people that's also a little afraid of nuclear, and I don't think he fully understands it. Nuclear is the cleanest energy we could possibly have. You have now seen the giant fields of these stupid windmills. You saw them all through Texas. You saw them a little bit in California and a little bit here in Arizona. They are the worst, least efficient way of creating energy, and they don't even create enough energy for their area. She's not talking about any of that. But she wants this Green New Deal garbage. Where's all that power coming from? No one can answer. But vote Kamala because she's a woman.
Yeah, one of the last things he said was, I still think he's a racist because he doesn't like, the Chinese people that are here and the black people that are here and the people from other countries. And I said, well, they're here illegally. And he's like, well, but some of those people are legal. And I said, great. If you're legal, cool. But the illegal people that are here, that are coming across the Mexican border, raping and murdering women and children in Texas and all the debacle that's going on.
Not to mention all the young girls and young children they're bringing over here and putting them into their sex trafficking young children.
And then Ohio. And he's like, well, I have family in Toledo and Cincinnati, and they don't see any of this. And I was like, I don't know how they don't know about any of this. I don't know what bubble your family's living in. But I was like, he's not racist because he doesn't want illegal immigrants here. It doesn't make him racist. He's America first, and our country is not safe right now. I won't say I. Anyway. I
don't get yourself in trouble. Don't get me in trouble.
Yeah, I don't feel, I drive around all day, and I don't feel safe driving around in a car all day, my doors are always locked, my windows are always up, like, I don't.
Second Amendment keeps my family safe.
We'll say that. And
I've mentioned it on here before. They know.
So I just, I ended the discussion, and it really just had me fired up because I've spent the last 4 years learning and educating myself on both sides, seeing firsthand what Kamala's saying, seeing firsthand what Trump's saying. Walz is just as bad. And then JD Vance, he's a
dude's a rock star.
He's a superstar. And
he's such a stud.
I don't understand. I just don't understand, people.
The vote blue no matter who.
Yeah.
It's party politics.
But,
I mean, you listen to my rantings.
Yeah. I listen to your rantings often. Honey.
It's people, but I'm talking about on here, so stuff that anyone watching this would have seen. It's when you're a single policy voter. Low information voters are for sure the most dangerous, because that dude is low information. He has the talking points, and that is it.
Right. He doesn't expect somebody to say, "Oh, give me facts. Tell me more about that."
He's going to be voting down ballot
when
Democrats.
I'm spewing facts and.
Yeah, and he could easily be sensible and look that stuff up for himself and get some real information and realize, oh, wow, that woman just taught me something. Instead, he's going to go, oh, man, I met this crazy broad today.
Yeah,
who's just all Trump, and she's a racist because I'm a black dude. Like, yeah, nothing could be further from the truth. Like,
right.
The only race I can't stand is a human race. I hate everybody, and I don't care what you look like. If you're a worthless asshole, I don't want to know you. So I keep my circle tight. Yeah, that's low information voters and single policy voters and come close second place. People that only vote for people based on one thing. Oh, well, she's a woman, so I'm voting for her. It's like, okay, but how does that fix the country? How does that fix race relations, which were at their all-time lowest right before Obama went in office?
I did mention that too.
Obama single-handedly.
I mentioned that the unemployment rate was at its lowest.
Yep. Especially for black men, was the lowest it had ever been.
Unemployment in general was at the lowest it ever been.
They're trying to say it is now, and that's because low information people or misinformed people. Once someone stops dealing with unemployment, so they were employed, they go on unemployment, they collect unemployment benefits for a year or two or however long they're milking the system. Once they fall off of the unemployment rolls, they are no longer considered unemployed. So the unemployment number is only based on people currently cashing unemployment benefits. That is it. We have more people who are truly without employment, but not on the unemployment rolls.
Yeah, because they're homeless. There's no place to send their
Exactly.
checks. There's no bank account for them to get their money from.
So that number is not accurate because it only works for people who are still currently cashing checks from unemployment benefits and for people who've been off in the streets for years.
Yeah.
When was the last time they had a job? So that's where you get into the weird political gray areas and the little loopholes of being inaccurate. And then you get like Kareem Jean-Pierre, that know-nothing, worthless broad. Oh, no. It's arguing with Fox News or whatever, Epic Times, whoever's up there going, hey, unemployment rates are the highest they've ever been. No, that's not true. I don't know where you're getting information. That's not true. The unemployment lowers are the numbers they've ever been. They've been the lowest they've ever been. Lowest right now. Thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Wasn't it proven that there was like a miss, like 800,000?
Well, they are way off.
Was way off.
Yeah, they're full of shit.
Their numbers
they also
off.
tried saying that it's the lowest crime rates we've ever had.
Oh, good gravy.
The FBI was hiding crime rates.
I have the Citizen app.
Trump came out.
Shooting every other. Actually, this week there's been a shooting in Tucson almost every day.
I believe it. The South Side's getting kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But Trump came out and said that the lowest violent crimes were happening under him. And then they came out, no, government. And they said this when he was with Kamala doing their one dog shit back and forth.
Oh, jeez.
And he came out and he was like, no, he was like, you need to stop fact checking me. Like, no, you need to look this up. Like, these are the highest crime rates we've had right now. And it's just not true. Well, They're like, nope, we looked at the FBI thing that just got released is the lowest. Well, and then it came out like just a week later. The FBI had been hiding stats and numbers, and then they secretly updated their information, and it increased by an insane number the amount of violent crimes that are happening across this country.
Mm-hmm.
But low information people only heard when CNN said it the one time, or MSNBC, same damn company, they're all interchangeable. Well, no, that one guy told Trump, no, that's not right because the FBI, and then no one's looking it up later.
Mm-hmm.
No, it is the most violent time we've lived in our lifetime. Like, it is the most violent. Fortunately, because of Trump, not in spite of Trump, because of Trump, race relations are coming back to normal, where people can just be people again, and not this weird vitriolic hatred just based on skin color.
Mm-hmm.
We had the lowest racial divide in our nation's history leading up to 08. And in 08, 09, it was the lowest it had ever been. And the attack on Wall Street was happening where everyone was, I'm trying to remember what the hell, I just had it too a few minutes ago. When everyone was like, hey, what the hell? Like, this is corrupt system. And then Obama started smearing all of the creating the bigger racial divide. We're just now starting to heal over on that because people are, especially, it's really funny. People, there's been a bunch of black people that go to Trump rallies. They go to Democrat rallies to see what's going on. And it's just nasty, mean, vitriolic, gross people. And then they'll go over to a Trump rally and worried for their lives. Like, they're really nervous to go over there, but it's a social experiment. They wanted to see what it would be like to go to both sides. And they go over to a Trump rally and people are like, what's up, bro? What are you doing? Are you voting for Trump? And they're like, I don't really, I think about it. Like, well, I don't care, dude. Come on in, come hang out. Like, and people are just welcoming people in with open arms. They don't care. Like, come hang out, dude. You're just a regular human guy. Like, come hang out.
Yeah.
And people are like, holy crap. Like, Trump voters aren't crazy Nazi KKK members. Like,
no, we're not.
It's so overdone that, like, Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, Quartering, all these guys are saying, like, everyone is kind of it's Nazi fatigue. People are tired of hearing the Nazi rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's a Nazi and MAGA voters are Nazis. It's like, no, dude, like, I don't care. Some of my best friends hate Trump. I don't care. They don't hate me because I love Trump. So we're able to continue rocking being friends. Like,
yeah.
Ramon can't stand Trump. Dude knows I love Trump. There's a Trump sign in my truck. Like, knows I love Trump. Knows I'm volunteering for the Trump campaign. Knows all that.
Mm-hmm.
Dude still buys me lunch. Like, we're still friends.
Yeah,
our
you can
friendship
still be
comes
friends.
first. There's a couple other friends. I've never named any of the other ones, but we have friends that hate Trump.
Yeah.
We're still friends.
Yeah.
Still buy them birthday presents.
Yeah.
Still hang out when they want to hang out.
Yep.
Like, they're still welcome in my home.
Yeah.
They still come over.
They're awesome people.
Like, I'm able to disassociate who you're voting for.
Same.
Like, if you're willing to listen to me, awesome, and that's great.
And if you're not, cool.
And if you're not,
I
fine,
still love you to
whatever.
death.
Like, there's still Trump signs all over my yard, like, and in every part of my house. Like, if you're coming over, you know what you're getting into.
Right.
But I've never been quiet about the fact that I love Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that I'm able to have friends that are still my friends no matter what.
Yeah.
But I've also lost a lot of friends because of it.
Yeah.
Because they can't disassociate. I'm like, dude, you've known me longer than Trump's been in the presidential anything.
Yeah.
We've been friends for 25 years. And for some reason, I'm all of a sudden a different person.
Yeah.
Like, never mind the fact that I've, like, picked you up at 2 a.m. because you needed a ride. Like, all of a sudden, I'm the worst dude ever.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it's just weird times, but we're finally getting back to a few more days, man.
One thing that popped in my head when you were talking is
1 week.
I had an account today that was like, is because I was out of town today.
Me too. Just in opposite directions.
Yeah, we were. And they were like, have you noticed it's slow? I said, yeah, because O&D is usually my busy season, October, November, December. And it's been a slow month. Although our numbers say it's not. But anyway. And I was like, yeah, it's, it's election year. Like, people are afraid to spend their money. They're not going to especially spend it on, fun stuff.
Frivolities.
Yeah. And he's like, I think people would want to be drinking right now. And I said, well, depending on what side you're on, you're going to probably be drinking a lot after the election.
Either way, you're going to have one side or the
Right.
other. It just depends. But they don't make any blue wine. So, yeah, it's going to get gnarly.
It is. It
I was
is.
saying
It's
that to Daniel.
unfortunate, but it will. Either way, if Trump wins, it's going to get weird. But, I don't think Republicans are going to burn down cities in honor of that.
No, but it will become.
I should say, if Kamala wins, we're not going to burn down cities. We're just going to.
We won't, but
it will stock up on ammo for when they do start burning down cities.
It'll be lawfare.
Yeah.
It'll become it's going to be dark no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to get crazy, because even though I would consider myself a far right-wing conservative and I'm a 2A guy, I've got no interest in getting involved in any conflict ever.
Oh, same.
Like, I've done my time of scrapping. Those days are behind me. I try to avoid that shit.
Yeah.
That's why I was a little surprised. That's why I was like, why did you stay there and argue with them? Like, I'll debate somebody and I'll converse with somebody. If I start getting angry at this point in my life, I just walk away.
Well, that's why I did. I could feel myself.
No, I'm proud of you for doing it.
I was
just
frustrated with him at first and just trying to get him to. I just wanted him to hear my facts, but he just kept going. Well, he wasn't listening. And then when I felt myself turn to, I'm angry now. I'm like, you know what? Thank you for your time. And then as I left, I said, know your facts. If you're going to do this to another person, know your facts.
No, it's accurate. Everyone should know their facts, which is why I'm out here throwing information out there, hoping someone hears it and goes, huh, sounds reasonable. And I've even said it, debate. I said, if you disagree. And Daniel goes, yeah, he'll fight you online. Like, he'll argue with you. Yeah. Because I will. I'll drop links to information and facts and everything. I can't be bothered to sit there and do overlays and drop in information right now, but it's all out there. Yeah. Anyone out there can go find the information. So. The fact of the matter is, I'm better off under Trump in office than anyone else so far.
Yeah.
Trump has been the greatest
Looking
president
back,
in my lifetime.
I realized that as well.
Financially, we were balling out of control. We were able to finance all of my whatever hobby happened to be at the time.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Daniel about it. I'm like, I rebuilt a truck.
Yeah.
I've bought 2 or 3 or 4 vehicles in that time and flipped them. At one point, I had 3 Harleys out front. Building rifles and building a gym and buying gym equipment. I did a lot. Not to mention all the tools and all the hardware and all the little projects inside. And I mean, we were doing
so well.
How many road trips did we go on?
Yeah, we were doing so well. I got a bonus and I spent all of it on a toolbox for you.
Yeah.
I bought you a welder for your birthday.
Yeah, an $1,100 welder.
Any bonus I get now at work
covers
is bills, mortgage, car payment. There's no extra for.
I'm having to verify that I had to verify we had cash to buy
batteries for his RC
new
car.
new LiPo batteries for my truck.
Yeah. So we'll get back there.
So we need Trump back in office. We need a drill baby drill.
Drill baby drill.
Yep. Trump 2024. Get out and vote. If you can, vote early. If you still have questions about anything, there's all kinds of government websites you can go on to. If you're in Arizona, you can go on to Turning Point and you can find all the ballot initiatives. Yeah, and it gives a very clear breakdown of what they are. If you're right of the aisle, whether it be Republican all the way to conservative libertarian, like I am, it'll give you pretty clear answers, and it'll actually tell you, the Turning Point side of each ballot that they're going to do. Turning Point probably has that for every state, but I can't confirm that.
Right.
But you can go on to any government official website and find information on your ballot for all of your local election stuff. Get out and vote locally. Even though there's going to be a big one, It seems like most people only come out to vote for president. It's important that in 2 years you get out and vote again in all of your local elections. Get involved. Learn what's going on, because these things directly affect you. Your state directly affects you as much, if not more, than the president. The president can only do so much. At the end of the day, our governor really matters here in Arizona.
Right.
And our governor can make or break your state. Look at Newsom in California. Why do you think all the Californians are moving to here in Arizona and in Texas? Everyone's talking about Texas right now. And as I grew up in Texas, I got a lot of love for Texas. Still got half my family there. I'm sick and tired of hearing about Texas. In Arizona, no one ever talks about it. We have more illegal crossings here. Fentanyl, this is the gateway to fentanyl for this nation. It is the cheapest here in Tucson, Arizona than it is anywhere else in the nation. And fentanyl is by far right now the biggest problem this country has.
Yep.
So it's killing our kids. It's nasty. It's getting everyone strung out. Like, it has directly affected our family. Like, you need to do something about this. But vote Trump. Let's get strong borders.
Vote Carrie Lake for U.S. Senate. Vote
Yep.
Daniel Gutierrez
For Congress.
for Congress.
This if you're here in Arizona.
If you're here in Arizona.
And if you're in our district.
Yeah.
So
I think Gutierrez is pretty much all over, because I saw his signs today in Sierra Vista, or not Sierra Vista, in Benson.
yeah, but I'm not sure which district he's for. I think he's in our district. I don't know how much our district covers. Because you've got Eli Crane. Eli, I'm trying to remember his last name. I just blanked it. But he's an Arizona congressman. He's not up for re-election this year. He just got elected this year.
Oh, he's up north.
He's in Oro Valley. Retired Navy SEAL. Very active. He only wants to do this for like 4 or 6 years, and then he wants to be out. But yeah, you need to pay attention to what's going on in your local elections. Get involved. Get informed. If you want to disagree with me.
If you don't want to get involved, just at least get informed. Reach out to someone.
If you want to argue with me, but be informed about it, because if you're an idiot, I will destroy your day.
Apparently, same for me, as I learned today. That was my first experience, and I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah, you did great.
And I felt good being
very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, if that dude would have been more educated, he might have, I don't think he would have been able to dummy you in anything, but he might not have felt like an idiot getting yelled at by a 5-foot woman in a parking lot.
Whatever.
Anyways, thanks for hanging out. I'm Randy.
I'm Tanya.
I'm Batman.